There are moments in life when silence grows heavy, when the world around us quiets, but the world within us will not. In those hours, a question rises, not loud, but insistent. What is this trembling inside me? Is it fear, or is it truth? Is it anxiety, or is it intuition? You know the feeling. The restless pulse. The unease that tightens the chest. Sometimes it feels like a warning, a prophecy, a whisper from beyond. But just as often, it is nothing more than the echo of old wounds, the shadow replaying its script. And here, in this confusion, lies one of the greatest trials of the human soul. For those who feel deeply, for the empaths among us, the confusion is even greater. They carry not only their own tremors, but the storms of others. Their sensitivity is both gift and burden, lantern and weight. And so the question becomes not only urgent, but essential: how do we tell the difference? How do we know when the whisper is shadow, and when it is the self? Tonight, we walk into that question together. Not to escape it, but to unfold it. Not to silence the voices, but to discern them. For within this very tension, between anxiety and intuition, between shadow and self, lies the path of transformation. So gather your questions, hold them close, and step with me into the labyrinth of the psyche. There, we will listen. There, we will discern. And there, perhaps, we will find the golden thread that leads us from chaos to clarity. You have gathered here tonight, drawn not by accident, but by the gravity of questions that live quietly in the shadows of your heart. These questions do not shout, they whisper. They arrive in the hours before sleep, when the body is still but the mind is restless, and they demand to be heard. Many of you have felt it, the tremor that runs like a current beneath your skin, the tightening of the chest, the restless pulse. You call it intuition. You trust it as prophecy. But more often, it is anxiety disguised in sacred clothing. This is the human confusion, the secret drama of the psyche. The shadow and the light, endlessly circling one another, endlessly battling for your belief. Anxiety and intuition are not the same. They wear similar masks, but they speak in different voices. Anxiety urges without direction. It shoves you forward, but refuses to show you where the path leads. It is the restless stirring of something unresolved, something not yet formed in the depths of your unconscious. Intuition, by contrast, is steady. It does not shake. It does not demand. It simply reveals. When intuition speaks, it feels less like being pushed into motion and more like being handed a lantern in the dark. Yet for the empath, the one who feels too much, who absorbs the atmosphere of others like breath, these two voices tangle like roots beneath the soil. The empath becomes a vessel of borrowed storms. Someone else's fear, someone else's shadow, bleeds into them. They sense danger, but is it truly there? Or is it only the echo of another's trembling heart, resonating through their own nervous system? Consider a dream. A woman wanders through a forest. The trees press close around her. She hears footsteps behind her. Her breath quickens. Her heart tells her, someone is following. This is anxiety, the projection of the shadow outward, the haunting of possibility. But in another dream, the same woman walks through the same forest. She turns before the footsteps sound, already knowing who is there. No panic, no hesitation. This is intuition. Silent, steady, aligned with the deeper order of life. Can you feel the difference? Anxiety agitates. Intuition clarifies. Anxiety clouds your sight. Intuition unveils what has always been. Why then do empaths, above all, confuse the two? Because their sensitivity is both a gift and a wound. They are porous. Their boundaries are thin. The emotions of others seep into them, filling their vessel until they no longer know which water is theirs and which belongs to the world. The empath walks through life like a cracked jar, never able to keep the surface still. Every drop of fear, every ripple of confusion, enters and disturbs them. And in such turbulence, how can one distinguish true knowing from borrowed panic? This is why the path of individuation, the journey toward wholeness, demands discernment. Not every whisper in the psyche is the voice of the self. Many are echoes of complexes, fragments of forgotten wounds. If you cannot separate them, you will mistake every tremor for prophecy. You will be led not by intuition, but by neurosis. Let me share a story. A young man once came to me, trembling with what he called visions. He said he knew when disaster was about to strike others. He felt it as a heaviness in his chest, as shadows in his dreams. He believed it was intuition. But as we traced the threads of his past, we found the source. He had grown up under a father whose anger was sudden, unpredictable. As a child, he learned to read every twitch, every pause, every silence at dinner. His body became a radar for survival, alert to the smallest signals. And now, as a man, he called this hypervigilance intuition. But it was not intuition. It was the echo of trauma, the residue of anxiety encoded in his nerves. His visions were not glimpses of the future. They were projections of the past. How often is this your story? You feel the tightness in your chest and declare, "My intuition is warning me." But perhaps it is your wound that is speaking. Perhaps it is the shadow child within you, crying out in fear. Understand this, intuition arises not from fear, but from integration. Anxiety is the voice of the complex. Intuition is the voice of the self. In the archetypal theater of the mind, anxiety belongs to the trickster. It misleads. It exaggerates. It paints shadows larger than their source. The trickster delights in confusion, making you mistake trembling for prophecy. Intuition, however, belongs to the wise old man, the archetype of deep knowledge. His voice does not panic. It does not rush. It reveals in clarity, in dreams, in symbols that linger with resonance. To follow the trickster is to be lost in agitation. To follow the wise old man is to step into alignment with your deeper order. This, my friends, is where our journey begins. Tonight, I will not ask you to silence your sensitivity. I will ask you to refine it. You must learn to hold your inner experiences to the light and ask, is this the shadow speaking, or the self? Only then will you stop mistaking every tremor for a prophecy. Only then will you move from chaos into clarity. To be empathic is to walk the world with open doors between the conscious and the unconscious, between your own heart and the hearts of others. The empath lives like a bridge, sensitive, exposed, and endlessly receptive. This openness is a gift, but it is also a wound. It is what Jung once called the path of the wounded healer. Consider Chiron, the ancient centaur, struck by a wound that never healed. And yet, because of that wound, he could see into the pain of others. The empath is much the same, one who feels because they have suffered, one who perceives because they carry their own unhealed scar. But without discernment, this gift turns into possession. The empath becomes not a healer, but a vessel overflowing with the projections of others. Think of water. A strong vessel holds it steady, clear as a mirror, reflecting the sky. But a cracked vessel leaks. Water seeps in, water seeps out, and the surface is always in motion. The empath without boundaries is this cracked vessel. Every drop of fear from others enters, every shadow from the world ripples across their surface. And in such turbulence, how can they know which reflection is real and which is borrowed? This is the central confusion of the empath, anxiety masquerading as foresight. You see, when you live too attuned to the atmosphere of others, you lose the ability to tell what belongs to you and what belongs to them. Their panic becomes your pulse. Their dread becomes your dream. You call it intuition, but it may only be contagion. Let me tell you another story. A woman once came to me, burdened with visions she could not escape. Each time she felt panic, she told herself it was prophecy, something terrible is about to happen. She lived in constant dread, waiting for disaster to arrive. But through analysis, we uncovered that her anxiety was tethered to an archetype, the devouring mother. Her own mother had filled her with fear since childhood. The world is dangerous, men are predators, success will destroy you. Every tremor of her nervous system echoed this archetype. What she believed to be intuition was simply the inheritance of her mother's shadow. Only when she recognized this, only when she saw the figure behind the voice, could she begin to separate intuition from anxiety. This is the work of shadow integration. Without it, the empath remains enslaved to the borrowed voices of the unconscious. Every panic is mistaken for prophecy. Every dream of collapse is mistaken for revelation. But not every whisper carries truth. Some whispers are merely echoes of wounds not yet healed. Dreams, in particular, are the nightly stage upon which this drama unfolds. Anxiety's dreams are restless, fragmented, filled with pursuit and loss. You run, you fall, you are chased, you cannot escape. Intuition's dreams, however, are symbolic and resonant. They may reveal pain, yes, but they do so with clarity. A wise figure appears, a mandala unfolds, a river flows with silent meaning. One dream leaves you sweating in fear. The other leaves you silent, knowing something deep has been spoken. Learn to distinguish these two, and you will no longer confuse anxiety with intuition. For here is the truth, anxiety is always about the ego. It whispers, what will happen to me? What might I lose? What threatens me? Anxiety is tied to time and circumstance, bound to the narrow frame of self-preservation. Intuition belongs to the self, and the self is not afraid. The self knows it is eternal, that no single event can undo its essence. Intuition is not frantic. It is not desperate. It is calm, even when it speaks of hardship, it does so with clarity and steadiness. Let me invite you into an exercise. Close your eyes and remember a time when anxiety gripped you. Recall the restless thoughts, the quickening pulse, the tight chest. Now remember a time when true intuition spoke. Perhaps it told you to walk away from a certain path, or to trust someone unexpected, or to prepare for what was coming. How did your body feel then? Likely calm, steady, even if the truth was difficult. This is the great distinction, anxiety clouds, intuition clears. Anxiety drains, intuition strengthens. Anxiety isolates, intuition connects. This is the correction the empath must learn. Not to discard sensitivity, but to refine it. To separate fear from foresight, shadow from symbol, anxiety from intuition. Without this correction, empathy becomes slavery. With it, empathy becomes vision. The archetypes themselves reveal this distinction. Anxiety belongs to the trickster, the one who exaggerates, who thrives on uncertainty, who delights in confusion. Intuition belongs to the wise old man, or to the anima and animus when integrated. These figures carry true messages from the unconscious, not in the language of panic, but in the language of clarity. To follow the trickster is to circle endlessly in agitation. To follow the wise old man is to move toward alignment. So, to you who feel deeply, who call yourselves empaths, I say, you are not cursed by your sensitivity. But you must refine it. You must hold each tremor to the light and ask, is this my wound or my wisdom? Is this shadow or self? For if you do not, you will remain trapped in the labyrinth of your own psyche, forever circling the walls of panic. But if you do, you will find the thread that leads you outward, the Ariadne's thread that guides you into the clear air of revelation. This is your task. Not to silence the voices, but to discern them. Not to numb your sensitivity, but to alchemize it, separating the lead of anxiety from the gold of intuition. Every human being walks with a labyrinth inside them. Its walls are not built of stone, but of memories, wounds, and archetypes. Within it, the shadow waits. Within it, the self whispers. And in this labyrinth, the empath often wanders longer than most, for their sensitivity makes the walls appear closer, the echoes louder, the shadows darker. Anxiety is the echo that bounces endlessly off those walls. It tells you there is no way out, no center, only circles of fear. Intuition, however, is the thread that leads you through. It does not remove the labyrinth. It reveals its map. The danger for the empath is that they confuse the echo for the thread. They hear the tremor of their nerves and believe it to be the voice of guidance. They mistake agitation for alignment. And so, they remain lost, walking in circles, believing themselves guided while in truth they are trapped. But you must understand this, the labyrinth is not punishment. It is initiation. Jung knew this when he spoke of individuation. To become whole is not to escape the labyrinth but to walk it consciously, to meet its shadows, to find its center. Here, myth speaks in symbols. Think of Theseus, descending into the labyrinth to face the Minotaur. The monster is not only an external beast, it is the inner shadow, the unconscious content that terrifies. Without Ariadne's thread, he would have been lost forever. That thread is intuition. It does not fight the monster for you, but it guides you back into the light once you have faced it. Anxiety cannot offer this. Anxiety only multiplies the Minotaur's roar, filling the walls with terror. The empath often enters this labyrinth carrying more than their own shadow. They carry the shadows of others, their parents, their partners, even strangers whose pain they absorb like breath. Imagine entering a maze not with one Minotaur, but with a dozen, each one borrowed from someone else. No wonder the empath trembles. No wonder they mistake every sound for doom. And yet, within this burden lies the seed of transformation. For the empath's curse can become their gift, if they learn discernment. If they can say, "This monster is mine. That one belongs to another." If they can set down what is not theirs, they will walk lighter. If they can see anxiety for what it is, a projection, an echo, a borrowed wound, they will no longer mistake it for the guiding voice, dreams or the secret teachers here. In the dreamscape, the unconscious stages its plays without censorship. An anxious dream is frantic, you are late, you are chased, you are trapped. The Minotaur breathes down your neck. But an intuitive dream is symbolic, a figure appears, a key is given, a river crosses your path. These are not the products of panic. They are messages of meaning. One leaves you restless. The other leaves you changed. To walk the labyrinth, you must learn to tell these dreams apart. Ask yourself, did the dream leave me anxious, or did it leave me knowing? Did it steal my peace, or did it give me clarity? This is how you begin to distinguish anxiety from intuition, but let us go deeper still. The labyrinth is not only filled with monsters. It is also filled with archetypes, ancient patterns of the human soul. Anxiety belongs to the trickster here, the one who confuses, who whispers false paths, who makes shadows appear larger than they are. The empath, already vulnerable, often follows the trickster without knowing it. They hear his voice as urgency, act now. Fear this. Run. And they obey, thinking it is intuition. Intuition, however, belongs to the wise old man, the great mother, the inner guide who carries truth. These figures do not shout. They do not rush. They wait in silence, offering images that resonate with depth. When they speak, you feel calm, even when the message is difficult. This is how you know it is the self, not the trickster. Imagine standing at a crossroads in the labyrinth. One voice shouts, frantic, demanding, clouding your vision. That is anxiety. Another voice speaks softly, steadily, revealing the path without force. That is intuition. If you do not learn the difference, you will forever run in circles. If you do, you will find the thread and walk toward the center. The center, after all, is not the end. It is the place where shadow and self meet. It is where you see the Minotaur not only as monster, but as guardian of your power. It is where you understand that the wound you carry is also the source of your gift. For the empath, this realization is crucial, your sensitivity is not weakness. It is initiation. The labyrinth was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to shape you. But shaping requires courage. You must dare to face the echo and say, "You are not prophecy. You are anxiety." You must dare to set down the shadows that are not yours, to return them to their owners. You must dare to listen for the deeper voice, the calm one, the one that offers clarity instead of panic. This is the work of the labyrinth. And when you emerge, because you will not be the same. You will not have escaped anxiety, but you will know it for what it is. You will not have destroyed the shadow, but you will have integrated it. You will not have silenced your sensitivity, but you will have refined it into discernment. This is the transformation waiting for the empath. This is the gift hidden within the labyrinth of the psyche. When you rise from the labyrinth, you are not the same as when you entered. The empath who first stepped in was trembling, confused, lost in the storm of borrowed voices. The one who steps out has learned the art of discernment. And this, my friends, is the secret of transformation, not the elimination of anxiety, but the recognition of its mask. Anxiety will always whisper. It will always tremble at the edges of your nerves. It is a part of being human, a remnant of survival coded deep in your bones. But intuition is eternal. It is the thread of the self, the quiet wisdom that knows beyond fear. To live fully is not to silence anxiety, but to hear it clearly and know, this is not my guide. The empath's gift becomes true only when they master this distinction. Otherwise, they remain enslaved, forever mistaking panic for prophecy, forever circling the same walls. But once they know, once they feel in their bones the difference between agitation and revelation, they step into their power. They become not just feelers of pain, but interpreters of truth. This is the destiny of the empath, to move from victim to visionary. Think of the alchemist. He does not discard lead. He transforms it into gold. Anxiety is the lead. Intuition is the gold. Without anxiety, there would be no material to transmute. Without the shadow, there would be no self revealed. The empath who learns discernment becomes the alchemist of the soul, turning confusion into clarity, turning wounds into wisdom. But how do we practice this in daily life? The first practice is listening with patience. Anxiety is urgent. It demands action now. Intuition is steady. It can wait. When a feeling arises, ask yourself, does this demand rush me, or does it hold me calmly? If it rushes, it is anxiety. If it steadies, it may be intuition. The second practice is examining the body. Anxiety tightens, contracts, steals the breath. Intuition opens, even when it speaks of difficulty. Intuition leaves you grounded, not frantic. Your body knows the difference if you learn to listen. The third practice is tracing the source. Ask, whose voice is this? Is it mine, or is it borrowed? The empath must especially practice this. For often what feels like intuition is only the echo of someone else's wound. Return what is not yours. Do not carry another's shadow as prophecy. And the fourth practice is honoring dreams. Keep them close. Write them down. Learn their language. Do not dismiss every nightmare as prophecy, nor every symbol as fear. Dreams are the stage of the unconscious, but you must learn to interpret their actors. Anxious dreams drain you. Intuitive dreams enrich you. Distinguish them, and you will know the voice of the self. Through these practices, you refine your gift. Through them, you learn to be a vessel not of confusion, but of clarity. And this clarity is not only for you. The empath's gift is never private. Once refined, it becomes service. You become a mirror for others, reflecting not their panic, but their truth. You become a presence that steadies, not agitates. You carry light into the labyrinths of others, showing them that the path is not chaos, but initiation. For this is the final truth, the labyrinth is not a prison. It is a temple. Its walls are not meant to trap you. They are meant to initiate you. Anxiety is not the enemy. It is the guard at the gate, testing whether you can see beyond it. Intuition is not fragile. It is the golden thread woven through the very fabric of your being. When you live from this place, the empath's burden becomes the empath's gift. You no longer drown in borrowed storms. You walk with discernment, carrying both shadow and self with dignity. You see anxiety, and you bow to it, saying, "You are not my enemy. You are my initiation." You hear intuition, and you trust it, saying, "You are the thread that guides me home." And so, my friends, let me leave you with this. When the tremor comes, do not rush. When the whisper calls, do not assume. Hold it to the light of discernment. Ask, is this shadow or self? Is this fear or wisdom? Only then will you know. Only then will you move from chaos into clarity. And when you walk this path, when you refine your sensitivity into vision, you will not only free yourself, you will become a light for others, a lantern in the dark, a voice of calm in a world trembling with noise. This is the destiny of the empath. This is the gift of discernment. This is the journey from anxiety to intuition, from confusion to clarity, from shadow to self.